ഓം. ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുക സ്തോത്രം. അനന്ത സംസാര സമുദ്രതാര നൗകായിതാഭ്യാം ഗുരുഭക്തിദാഭ്യാം വൈരാഗ്യ സാമ്രാജ്യദഭൂജനാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം കവിത്വവാരാശിനിശാകരാഭ്യാം ദൗർഭാഗ്യദാവാംബുധമാലികാഭ്യാം ദൂരീകൃതാനമ്രവിപത്തിതാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നതായയോ ശ്രീപതിതാം സമീയു കദാചിദപ്യാശുദരിദ്രവർയാഃ മൂകാശ്ച വാചസ്പതിതാ ഹിതാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നാളീകനികാശപദാഹൃതാഭ്യാം നാനാവിമോഹാദിനിവാരിതാഭ്യാം നമജ്ജനാഭീഷ്ടതതിപ്രദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നൃപാളിമൗലി വ്രജരത്നകാന്തി സരിദ്വിരാജച്ഛകന്യകാഭ്യാം നൃപത്വദാഭ്യാം നതലോകപങ്ക്തേർ നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം പാപാന്ധകാരാർക്കപരംപരാഭ്യാം താപത്രയാഹീന്ദ്രഖഗേശ്വരാഭ്യാം ജാഡ്യാബ്ധിസംശോഷണബാഡവാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം ശമാധിഷട്കപ്രദവൈഭവാഭ്യാം സമാധിദാനവ്രതദീക്ഷിതാഭ്യാം രമാധവാംഘ്രീസ്ഥിരഭക്തിദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം സ്വാർച്ചാപരാണാമഖിലേഷ്ടദാഭ്യാം സ്വാഹാ സഹായാക്ഷതുരന്ധരാഭ്യാം സ്വാന്താച്ഛഭാവപ്രദപൂജനാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം കാമാദിസർപ്പവ്രജഗാരുഡാഭ്യാം വിവേകവൈരാഗ്യനിധിപ്രദാഭ്യാം ബോധപ്രദാഭ്യാം ധൃതമോക്ഷദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമഃ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം. ഓം മൂകം കരോതി വാചാലം പങ്കും ലംഘയത്തെ ഗിരിം യത്കൃപാതമഹം വന്ദേ परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः। अध्यायं 6:31-40। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अथ षष्ठोऽध्याय। सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजत्येकत्वमास्थिता सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः। अर्जुन उवाच योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्तः साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वात् स्थितिं स्थिरां चञ्चलं हि मनः कृष्ण प्रमाथिबलवदृढम् तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वायोरिव सुदुष्करम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच असंशयं महाबाहो मनो दुर्निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येण च गृह्यते असंयतात्मना योगः दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुमुपायता। अर्जुन उवाच अयति श्रद्धयोपेत योगाच्चलितमानस अप्राप्य योगसंसिद्धिं कां गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति कच्चिन्नो भयविभ्रष्टः छिन्नाभ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्यसंशयस्यास्य चेता न ह्युपपद्यते। श्रीभगवानुवाच पार्थ नैवेह नामुत्र विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति। ॐ तत्सत्।
Hari Om. Jairam ji for the recap.
Hari Om. In the previous slokas, we found that when the meditator transcends the mind and the intellect, he rediscovers his own divine nature. Now, in this current verses 30, 31, and 32, we see the effect of such vision, such understanding. Our transaction with the world is influenced by our state of mind. When we look at the world through the colored glass of our vasana-ridden mind, the world appears in that color. For a man of realization, the one who has a clear vision he looks at it in a different way. In and through the shapes of all ornaments, the jeweler sees the gold alone. Same like the various shapes and size pots, the pot maker or even is and understands the pot tattva, the mud tattva. So there are so many such examples. Any part of the body, wherever the pain, it is equal for me. For a doctor, a patient is a patient, nothing other than that. For a surgeon, the patient in the table is just a patient. He cannot have any other addition to that. So too, a yogi sees equality everywhere. In our school days, we are taught that हम सब भारतीय है, सब हमारे भाई बहन है. This kind of things to create that patriotism and unity. But here, this yogi who has transcended all these barriers of my and my own, that kind of barriers, he feels the entire universe as his own. The various brands of water bottle available on the shelf, in and through we see the drinking water. In short, a person of self-realization instinctively becomes a divinely compassionate and loving man. For him, there is no difference. Everything is God's creation and he is part of it. That is his feeling. Although all this explanation is very simple, but understanding and employing it into our own life seems to be difficult because of the state of mind. Once we drop these vasanas, even we can achieve this. That is the reason why all these examples are given, how a yogi conducts in the world. For him, there is no special reason for joy or sorrow. In all ways, he is always feel contented and happy. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Jairam ji. Sharma ji, please commence today's verses.
भाई साहब ऐसा जुल्म ना करो यार, मुझे म्यूट ना करो. हरिओम. Very, very good point raised by Jairam ji about the school days. And then the same thing, if you see the earlier shlok, it has been mentioned there. Like you see me in everyone, everyone in me, all those things. So that time, the nationalism ke bhai sab Bharat ke mere bhai behan hai. But eventually, when we grow up and when we are traveling around the world or being like, let's say, working in Dubai with the multinational, international people, we are with the world. So everybody is same. So it is gone. Now, I think today is the 34th shlok, right, Manish ji? Manish ji? Hello? 34, 35, right?
Yes,
yes, Sharma ji.
अभी इसकी भूमिका अगर देखो तो it starts from the 26th shlok. यतो निश्चरति मन चंचलम स्थिरम. It starts from there. तो वहां से भगवान ने पूरा किया. Then we come here. चंचल ही मन कृष्ण pramathi balavadranam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriv sudushkaram. Shabdarth, chanchalam, restless, he, verily, manah, mind, Krishna, O Krishna, pramathi, turbulent, balvat, strong, jhadam, unyielding, tasya, of it, aham, I, nigraham, control, manye, think, vayo ho, of the wind, eva, as, sudushkaram, difficult to do. Now we come to the Gudharth. The mind verily is, O Krishna, restless, turbulent, strong, and unyielding. I deem it quite as difficult to control it as the wind. There is an atmosphere of intimacy and love, surrender and respect in the very note of helplessness in Arjuna's words in this shlok. This art of making an emotion echo through the rhythm of the words is often met within Sanskrit, although rarely, if ever at all, you use them in English poetry also. The curfew tolls the knell of the parting day. Elegy by Gray. There is an occasion of difference between a modern man condemning the sacred scriptures of a land and a true seeker, questioning the same philosophy in his honest attempt to understand the full import and the wealth of suggestiveness contained therein. In his acute awareness, Arjun, as it were, realizes deep within himself his own subjective experience that a mind cannot be stilled, as it is ever turbulent, strong, and unyielding. These three terms are quite pregnant in their own imports. Turbulence shows not only the speed in the flow of thoughts, but also their restlessness and agitations, causing on the surface undulating waves rising pell-mell. Not only does the flood of thoughts flow fast and rough, but having reached its destination at some sense object or the other, it gets itself so powerfully attached to it that it becomes strong in its new roots. Mind in turbulence is, no doubt, difficult to arrest, but when it gets strongly riveted, it is difficult to pluck it away from its attachments. And the third characteristic feature of the mind is that when it has flown into any channel of its own choice for the moment, it is so unyielding that it is impossible for the individual to pull it back from its flight and persuade it to stay at the determined point of concentration. It is to be remembered that this was the technique advised by Krishna for the practice of meditation earlier in this adhyaya. The strength and vigor, the vivacity and treachery, the penetrativeness and all pervasiveness of the mind cannot be better expressed than by the simile given here as that of the wind. In raising this question, Arjuna is asking Krishna some practical tips by which he can gain a perfect control over the stormy nature of the unyielding, strong, turbulent, and restless mind. Herein, unlike in the previous slok, the Bhagavan is addressed by his most familiar name, Krishna, a word that comes from the root kras, to scrape. The term Krishna is applicable to the self because on realization of the truth, the threats of the delusory mind and the consequent dreamy vasanas will be scraped away from a cognition. The very hands of the dreamer get automatically cleaned, and the entire moral stigma attached to the murder immediately gets cleared when the dreamer wakes up. Similarly, the mind and its onslaught, its vasanas and their tyranny, the intellect and its quest, the physical body and its appetites, all ends with the rediscovery of the true nature of the self. Therefore, the poet, philosopher Vyas, in his immortal classic Mahabharata, paints the inner self as Bhagavan Krishna, the flute player of Vrindavan. In Sanskrit, this is a special art unknown to any other language in the world, using a proper noun to indicate the peculiar quality of the person that it is to be suggested in the context of the narration. Accepting the arguments of Arjun, Bhagwan answers to prove that there is a method by which the invincible mind can be brought under control. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asansayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Guhyate. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shabdarth Asansayam, undoubtedly, Mahabaho, O mighty arm, Manah, mind, Durnigraham, difficult to control, Chalam, restless, Abhyasen, by practice, tu, but, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Vairagyena, by dispassion, Cha, and Guhyate is restrained. Bhagwan said, undoubtedly, O mighty armed one, the mind is difficult to control and is restless. But by practice, O son of Kunti, and by dispassion, it is restrained. Vyas, the immortal dramatist, in his preoccupation with the philosophical explanation, does not for a moment drop down the mantle of poetry off his shoulders. This is, in fact, the incomparable glory of the poet philosopher Vyas. Indeed, there is a bustling moment of dramatic possibility at this point in Gita, which any hasty artist can overlook, but not Vyas. And in fact, it is such artistic moments fulfilled so magnanimously that give Gita the compelling charm of a magic even to those who do not understand it at all. Krishna knew his Arjun as a warrior, the man of action, the daring adventurer, and the ruthless realist. When such a tumultuous personality spurs himself out with a drawn dagger, either to agree with or to condemn the noble philosophy of a true missionary, the teacher must have the balance of mind to approach the rebel intellect with divine understanding and extreme tact. At this juncture in the Gita, the situation, to put it in a nutshell, is this. Bhagwan propounds the theory that mind still is self-gain, and Arjun argues that mind cannot be stilled, and so self cannot be gained. Both of them are arguing upon the possibility or otherwise of realizing that self in the subtle kingdom within, and therefore therein no objective demonstration is ever possible. In the material sciences of the world, all arguments between scientists can be finally determined and completely proved on the laboratory tables and on graph papers. But in the case of the subjective science, it being a transaction between two equally integrated personalities, arguments as such, though unavoidable, must be very carefully directed. And he is true missionary who is a master of the psychology of his opponent. Conversation of another intellect into the right channels is no rough act of any woodcutter or any grave digger. It is the hard but careful art of cutting jewels. He is to shape the heart of another and bring out of it more light. When an impetuous man like Arjun gets hold of an idea in all enthusiasm, the best technique is to yield to him. To start with, stoop to conquer is the secret of success in philosophical discussions, especially in such moments of mental perversions. Natural is the ignorant in the ignorant. Thus, the great psychologist Krishna, with the very first word in his reply, quietly disarms his mighty adversary and immediately tickles the vanity of the warrior with the term, no doubt, O mighty armed. Krishna admits that the mind is turbulent, strong, unyielding, and restless, and that is very difficult to control. And therefore, the goal of perfect and enduring tranquility cannot be easily achieved. By this admission, Arjun is flattered. By reminding him that he is mighty armed soldier in life, he is mentally brought to a restful peace. The taunting implications in it is obvious. To achieve the impossible and the difficult is the job of the mighty arm. It is no glory for a warrior to claim that he has plucked half a dozen flowers from a bush in his own courtyard. The mind is no doubt a great enemy, But the greater the enemy, the nobler also is the victory. In the second line of this slok, again the eternal missionary in Krishna very carefully weighs his words and uses the most appropriate terms to soothe the mind of Arjun. O son of Kunti, it can be brought under control is an assertion which comes only as the last word of the shlok. Through practice and renunciation, sorry, the mind can be brought under control in the beginning and ultimately to a perfect halt. This is the confident, reassuring declaration of Bhagwan in the Gita. Renunciation has been already described earlier in the Gita as sannyas, which was defined as renunciation of all clinging attachments to the objects of the world, lingering expectations of the fruits of action. These two are the main causes for the agitation of thoughts, which further thickens the flood of the thought flow and make the mind uncontrollable. As Acharya Shankar describes, practice, abhyas, is constant repetition of the same idea regarding one and the same object of thought. Refers Swamiji's Meditation and Life. This consistency of thought during steady meditation generally gets diverted and dissipated because of the frequent explosive eruptions of desire. Whipped up by the new desires that are rising at every moment, the thoughts wander into dissimilar channels of activities, upsetting the inner equilibrium and thereby shattering the true vitality of the inner personality. Thus, view, practice, abhyas strengthens renunciation, sannyas. Thus viewed practice, abhyas strengthens renunciation, sannyas, which generates detachment, vairagya, and which in its turn deepens meditation, abhyas. Hand in hand, each strengthens the other. Thus, the total progress is steadily maintained. I'll repeat once again. Thus, viewed, practice, abhyas strengthens renunciation, sannyas, which generates detachment, vairagya, and which in its turn deepens meditation, abhyas. Again, hand in hand, each strengthens the other. Thus, the total progress is steadily maintained. In scriptural textbooks, the arrangement of words is to be carefully noted. For in all cases, the words are arranged in a descending order of importance. To every seeker, the question comes at one or the other, whether he should wait for the spirit of detachment to voluntarily arrive in his mind or he should start his practice. The majority wait in vain for the accidental arrival of the moment of vairagya before they start their abhyas. The Gita in this shlok clearly declares that such an expectation is as ridiculous as waiting for the harvest of the crops which we never sowed. Let us analyze life, question its experience, argue with ourselves, and note carefully how much we put into life and how much as a return we gain from life. When we become aware of the deficit balance each time we out of necessity shall start inquiring how our life could be more profitably reorganized so that our entire coffers of joy and happiness could be replenished to their brim. Soon the study of the Shastras will follow, which will give us a peep into the wonders of a moral life, the wisdom of ethical values, the joys of self-control, the thrills of growth, and the consequent suffocation of the egocentric little life. From the moment we start trying to become aware of our own lives, we are in the realm of practice, abhyas. As a result of this, the detachment that comes automatically to us is the true and enduring detachment, vairagya. All else is a sham show of stupid self-denial, which cramps a human soul and distorts and perverts his intelligence into an ugly figure riddled with its own hysterical ravings and bleeding with its own psychological ulcers. Vairagya born out of Abhyas alone is the charter for free spiritual growth. Of your own accord, never renounce anything. Let your attachment with things drop off of its own accord as a result of your intellectual growth into the higher planes of better understanding and truer estimation of things and beings, happenings and behaviors, occurrences and incidents around you in life. When through right practice, enduring the detachment has come rushing in full gush into our inner lives, then the mind comes under control. Now it has no more any world of pluralistic objects to roam into, and the only world which it now knows is a world of equanimity and sameness. Gita अध्याय 5, 19 और अध्याय 6 श्लोक 32. You know, if some student of literature not knowing about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, what to read this, he will definitely come out saying that this has been written and spoken, or rather spoken and written by a person of literature. Such is a beautiful language of English. Very good. Now coming back to the, I think I have about 4 minutes here. Coming back to the these two shlokas, if we see the entire background of Mahabharat war and where Srimad Bhagavad Gita was spoken, in the warlike situation, now see Arjuna has raised two very, very important questions. You know, the man is very chanchal, and he gives the मतलब क्या किस तरह चंचल है, प्रमाथी है और बलवत दृढ़ है. So मन के तीन उदाहरण दिए हैं, चंचल है, प्रमाथी है, बलवत दृढ़ है. Now चंचल in a way like what? You know, अब हमें जो पलकें हैं बड़ी चंचल हैं. You know, you can't control your पलक. वो अपने आप ही होती रहती है, झपकती रहती है. You know, you just don't know how it's happening. Then it is very strong, बलवत दृढ़. वो बोलो उसको पकड़ना, मन को मतलब मन को पकड़ना इतना मुश्किल है, as if catching vayu. You know, you can't hold air in your hand. So he said, what do I do? So here Bhagwan beautifully explains. And again, you know, Swamiji has given a real good, you know, I mean, I'll not say an example, but one more term from Bhagwan Krishna. He says, like a psychologist, Manovagyanik. You know, it's a very true, but if you see in the deep sense, he actually knew the nerves of Arjun's thinking, or in fact, the entire humankind of that time and in coming time in future, how they will be, what their queries will be, and how they can be sorted out. So there, you know, as a Manovagyanik, as a psychologist, Bhagwan starts, and he agrees in the first thing, but yes, you're right. One is chanchal and pramathi, but yes, it can be controlled through abhyas, through constant practice and vairagya, you know, detachments. And there Bhagwan explains, you know, very in a very nice way. He's gone ahead and said everything, okay, how you can actually control. So he's, you know, he's not started waiting for that, like we get those, you know, one is a Smashan Vairagya, like in Smashan you feel like there's nothing in life, you just, you know, sort of detachment kind of a thing, or when you're sick, or when a child is in the garb. So Garbhe Vyade Smashane Cha. Us time mein jo mati hoti hai, agar aisi mati hamesha hogi, so you can have a digital life, but it doesn't work that way. Itna hota nahi aisa karke. So Bhagwan says you start abhyas first. Vairagya will automatically come in. Don't wait for the Vairagya, for the abhyas to start. A good example Swamiji has given here is, you know, fantastic, which we learnt in economics. I have been a student of economics, so I can correlate here. You know, Bhagwan says, sit down and analyze your life. You know, what we put in and what we got, you know, which we had called it, the theory was spillover, cost and spillover benefit. So for any cost involved in life, for any benefit involved in life, there's a cost involved. So you have to make that graph. And wherever we find that the cost involved is much more higher than the benefit received, it's not worth it. So you end up paying, you know, let's say 100 dirhams for a Golgappa, which doesn't have taste well, then the cost is more than the benefit you wanted from the Golgappa. So it's just not worth it. So similarly, whatever actions we are doing, there it happens. And now, you know, we go with a similar example in life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Swami Vivekananda. When Swamiji went to Ramakrishna for the first time, and he asked him, is there God? Bhagwan hai. Now, you know, now look at Swamiji. The same similar thing is, he's got a different way. He says, छोड़ उसकी चर्चा भगवान है नहीं है, तेरे को दर्शन करना है, तेरे को उसका अनुभव करना है. And he says, and then he just puts his feet over Swamiji, and Swamiji goes into a trance, right? So there again, that's a monovaiganik. He knew what Swamiji wanted. So similarly, Bhagwan knows here, and plus, moreover, we should remember Bhagwan's birth has taken place during that time. Adharma ka nash karne ke liye. That's why Bhagwan comes Sambhavami Yuga Yuga, right? So he knows that yeah, adharmi बढ़ रहे हैं, इनका नाश करना है कौरवों का. The only capable person is Arjun. At this time of war, बंदा हाथ खड़े कर रहा है, वो नहीं चलेगा. So he treats him very, very, minute, very softly, understanding his psyche and going ahead. So this we should apply it all our part of life. It is very, very easy. And then start the abhyas part of it. Not wait के चलो मैं श्लोक याद कर लूं कि मैं ये याद कर लूं फिर होगा. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा. अभ्यास से start होगा. हरि ओम.
Hari Om. Thank you, Sharma ji. Ajay ji, would you like to share your views?
Hari Om. Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. We are in the most beautiful or most practical sloka of Dhyana Yoga 34 and 35. After listening to Lord Sri Krishna, Arjuna raises his genuine doubt about what is being taught and what is his doubt. As Pujya Gurudev mentioned, Lord propounds the theory that mind still is self-gained, and Arjuna argues that mind cannot be still, so it is self cannot be gained. After the Lord propounds this theory and how the dhyana can be practiced and the meditation can be practiced and reached to that supreme level, perfection. Arjuna raises this question, verse number 33. Yadasyaham na pashyami chanchalatva sthitim sthiram. That state of mind which is chanchalatva. Again, that chanchalatva Arjuna explained further so that his doubt itself become very clear. When we raise a question, we raise a doubt, the disciple should be able to make it very clear. The doubt should be very clear. So here mentioned, elaborate that one. Chanchalam himana Krishna, pramadhi balavat dridham, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayuriva sudushkaram. Therefore, manas chanchalam, mind is, by nature it is chanchalam. It is always turbulent. Pramadhi, balavat, dridham. These three words used, turbulent, strong and unyielding. Krishna, tasya nigraham. To control that is like controlling the wind. Vayo iva sudushkaram, very difficult. Aham manye, I think, is my opinion. Controlling the whatever it is said in the previous verse of the practice of meditation, I agree with that one. But my question is, my doubt is that one. Controlling the mind, because the three qualities, three properties of the mind is mentioned here: turbulent, strong, and unyielding. As we were all, as a Sathak, we all know that whenever we wanted to control our mind, how difficult it is. We have been listening to the gurus, and we have been with the Lord. But at the same, to put it to the practice, the first step, put it to the practice, how to control the mind and bring the mind into the scripture or the this particular thing is very difficult. So it is turbulent. These three terms are quite pregnant with their own importance. Pujya Gurudeva, each word in the two verses, with the genuine doubt of the Arjuna and the way in which Lord accepts the question. That's also very important. That's a true example of the Guru Shishya Bandha is being mentioned here. But not only Arjuna's doubt has been recognized by the Lord, and he answered in a very, very, very kind of sympathetic manner, accepting his one. Not only that one, he praises Arjuna. Each word Pujya Gurudev has analyzed in this detailed commentary. These three terms are quite pregnant with their own importance. Turbulency shows not only the speed of the flow of thoughts, but also the restlessness and agitation, turbulent flow. And, no doubt that difficult to arrest. When it is gets strongly repeated, it is difficult to pluck it away. It's dridham. Mind is once the mind is stuck to something, it is very difficult to remove that one. So this mind by nature, chanchalam, or not only is resting on one thing, it's always restlessness. It is pramadhi, turbulent, balavat, very strong, and dhrita. Once it is stick to something, it is very difficult to remove that one. So these three, we all understand that. We all know that the difficulty when the mind is into something, it is very difficult to change that. Always it is changeable. This chanchalam, pramadhi, balavat, dhrita. These 4 points are important. So here it is that the mind is so, and it is Arjuna explained with a further example with a very beautiful simile. It's just like a wind. Puji mentioned that the strength and vigor, vivacity and treachery, the penetrativeness and all pervasiveness of the mind cannot be better expressed than its simile given as that of a white mind. See, anything, mind is all-pervading. Mind can sitting here, my body can sit here, mind can fly to any places and all pervasiveness. It's the subtlest of the subtlest thing. Can be something very similar. We can compare with the Panchabhutas only with Vayu. That's a wind. So the mind is like a wind. It is difficult to the strength and vigor of the wind when it is flowing, and the pervasiveness, it is so penetrativeness, everything it is put into this sloka. So mind is like very like a wind. It is difficult to control at any point of time. So how whatever the stilling the mind, stillness of the mind cannot be achieved. That my doubt how it is possible. This is I think Arjuna says that I think it is very difficult. From my standpoint, it is very difficult. I am not finding it to control the mind, to pacify the mind is difficult. So please explain me. That is a question raised by Arjuna. This is my genuine doubt. And Bhagavan says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Asamshayam Mahabaho, Mano Durdigraham Chalam, Abhyastena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena tu Grihyate. Again, it is very important, as the commentary says, weights and the arrangement of the weights, the order of the weights is very important in this also sloka. So you will very, very beautifully explain that one. First, Bhagavan addresses Arjuna, Kaunteya, Mahabaho, the 2 times, more mighty arm, because you are able to do the great, because you are a warrior, Mahabaho, the strong man, man of strength. And Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Kunti is the kind of incarnation of the Kshama, that's patience. So these 2 things are important, Mahabaho and Kaunteya, and the order in which each word is placed, Asamshayam, no doubt. First of all, Bhagavan admits that one. Bhagavan comes from his level to the Arjuna's level and saying that no doubt, my Sunny, it is 100% you are right. Asamshayam Mahabaho, Mano Durnigraham Chalam. Controlling the mind is very difficult. Abhyastena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena tu Grihyate. But there is a way. It is whatever you said is 100%. I am with you. At the same time, there is a way. Abhyasena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Mahabaho, oh mighty arm to waist, Manat Durdigraham. To control the mind is not difficult. Talam Asamshayam, it is no doubt. Tu Kaunteya. Even then, Kundi Putra, Abhyasena, by with practice, Vairagyena, with detachment, it can be controlled. Grihyate, mind can be controlled. So Puji mentioned here that one. Which one is to be started? As for this is for the sadhaka. All sadhakas at no point of time, Abhyasa to be started, or let wait for the Vairagya to come in life. Let us enjoy that all the things later in life, sometime as a gift from the Lord. The Vairagya will come, then we can start the spiritual practices. No, here it is very the order is that one. Abhyasa and the practice and practice. And this is very important scriptural arrangement of this. Should we wait for the spirit of detachment to voluntarily arrive in his mind, or should start the practice? Majority wait in vain for the accidental moment of Vairagya before the start of the Vairagya, Abhyasa. The Gira in this stanza clearly declared that such expectation is ridiculous. So then the process is, Gurudev was, again, when you explain that one, you analyze your life, where you stand in that one. You find out the benefit and cost and all these things and that one, then you start thinking that one. And then start the practices. Practice Abhyasa as the result of this, the detachment comes natural, spontaneous and effortless. Once Abhyasa is in place, any kind of Abhyasa, control the mind in a little steps, not very, very fast way. for control each circumstances, each situations in the life. Let us try to understand that when controlling the mind, and from that is a practice part is the abhyasa is mentioned. First abhyasa, through abhyasa, vairagya become effortless, spontaneous, and very easy to achieve that one. That is the intellectual growth in the higher planes of better understanding the true estimation of things and being happening. First analyze yourself, where you stand exactly as a sarthak, where you are there. From that point, make the effort to do the practice, and then through the practice and practice of the mind, each situation one can reach to the higher levels. And this is the method which is Lord Sri Krishna explained to Arjuna, and through Arjuna, all sadhakas at all point of time. This is the only way probably this abhyasa and the vairagya to the practice. Spiritual practices are to start that one, through that one can reach that one. Then the stilling the mind, possible through the stilling the mind, stillness of the mind, you can achieve the self. That's the first step that will, in order to reach that one. The method is steps are being indicated here. That one, abhyasa, vairagya, stillness of the mind, and then realizing the self within, the divinity within us. That's the method. It is given two beautiful slogas, and the two example of the Guru Shishya Samvada is being the 34 and 35 slogas are being beautifully explained here. That's what I could understand from these two slogas. Hari Om, thank you very much.
Hari Om Ajay, thank you for the explanation. Very well explained. Nagaraj, would you like to share your views on this today?
No, I will not be sharing my views this time. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Nanduji, would you like to?
Hari Om. Very nicely explained by Raghunandanji and Ajayji. Just few thoughts on these two shlokas. This is one of the example of very good, like about the Guru Shishya Samvadas, and especially the shlokas from Bhagavan after the question from Arjuna. Those like important one are like the immediate shlokas from Bhagavan, which is giving like clear answers. First is the question from Arjuna, and Arjuna is the like a representative for all of us, and that is the question we also get in. Mani is Chanchal, and how we can control, and Bhagavan is replying on that one. Just the keywords are like it's about like abhyasa and vairagya. What is abhyasa? Guru mentioned in the commentary is practice again and again, same thing. That is abhyasa. And vairagya is one of the important word. And Samartha Ramdasa was having this two important word from Samartha Ramdasa, which is about like viveka and vairagya. And for vairagya also, there are like several types of vairagya. One example of vairagya is about like it is called like a smashan vairagya, means the vairagya which is coming once we visit to graveyard, and there we realize no, we are also going to go on the same path, and the life is like that way. We realize some time only, and once we'll come from that place again, we are habitual with all the happenings happening around us. And Samartha Ramdasa, he's in one place in Dasbuddha, he's quoting like that. Sthala Taga Hota Saveshi Jaya, means now we are sitting in the Chinmay study group class, and when we listen and study all these things, then we think, yeah, everything is fine and all that thing. But once we finish this, then again we are coming on our like routine things, but we are not trying to grasp this. And on this shloka 35, which is about the abhyasa and vairagya, and Gnaneshwar Maharaj has given one very good quote on this one. It's talking about like mind. So kaje ya manache ekanike je dekhile godichi athaya soke ke anubhav sukhi kautuke davita jai. Means one thing of this mind is very good, that whatever you will give it to mind, just like a habit, then it will try to grasp that. If you will try to give good things, then it will try to approach with that. Otherwise, if you'll give something like bad things, it will try to go on that side always. So we have to keep maybe mind on the path of like a devotion, and just to achieve God. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Anyone else? Ankit ji, would you like to share your views? Probably he's not around.
Hariom
Suresh-
Maniji, me not.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
No. Today no. Maybe next week or next week.
Okay, Hari Om.
Okay.
Suresh ji.
Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Actually, today I'm a little bit confused and afraid of talking, because the 32 and the 35 verses, it is most of the commentators, especially the Madhusudana Saraswati, it is commenting pages by pages, almost 8 pages each sloga, 32 and the 35. It is talking. I think so. Hours and hours Sanjayji required to explain this, because that much analysis is happening there. But even though, as a practice, I will participate in a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, I will conclude my role. Slogan number 34. Arjuna Uvaja Chanchalam Himana Krishna Pramadhi Belavadridam Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayoriva Su Dushkuram. 35. Sri Bhagavan Uvaja Asamshe Mahabaho Mano Nurdigraham Chalam Apyasena Gaundeya Vairagyana Cha Grihyade. The Anya is Arjuna Uvaja Chanchalam Pramadhi Balavat Dridam He Krishna Tasya Nigraham Vayo Iva Dushkaram Aham Manye. 35. The Anya is Sri Bhagavan Uvaja He Mahabaho Asamshayam Mana Nur Nigraha Chalam He Kaundeya Tu Abhyasena Vairagyana Cha Grihyade. These are the beautiful and very famous 2 slogas, as Ajayji and Sharmaji is mentioned, that these are the 2 famous slogas we can see in the form of the Guru Shishya Samvada. And Arjuna is raising his doubts once again in the 34 sloga, which is saying that the mind verily is, O Krishna, restless, turbulent, strong, and unyielding. I deem it quite as difficult to control as the mind. It is saying that, O Krishna, it is very difficult to control the mind, because again he is explaining the nature of the mind, which is the fickle or the turbulent, strong, and unyielding. We have seen in the beautiful commentary how Swamiji is mentioning the nature of this mind. So it is interesting to know that in the commentary, Shankara is saying that what is meaning of this Krishna, what is the meaning of the Krishna? Shankara is saying that Chanchalam Himana Krishna, Krishna idi Krishade Vilekhanarthasya Rupam Bhaktajana Pababhi Dolsha Karshanat Krishna. It is mentioned that the mind is very much turbulent, it is fickle. However, the Krishna, the meaning of the Krish, the root is to attract. Attract means whatever the sins or sorrows, who has the capacity to attract or in, if you look at the Vishnu Sahasranama commentary also, there are many times it is repeating the Krishna word, it is repeating, and many more explanations or the meanings we can see from the Vishnu Sahasranama. There it is saying that another definition is giving for Krishna. Krishna bhuvajaga shabdo nacha nirvriti vajaga Vishnu stat bhava yogacha Krishno bhavati swatada. Krish means the sattva, Krish, and the second dhatu, na, which means the ananda, which means the Sachidananda, Ananda. So this is the meaning of one of the meaning of the Krishna. And in this context, for the slogan number 34, which is saying that Krishna means he can attract or draw all our sins or sorrows. That is also beautifully, it is mentioned, Bhagavan Vyasa in these verses. In the last verse, it is addressing that Madhusudana. In this 34 verse, it is addressing the Krishna. This is all according to that context, and there is a wide and wise meaning is there. Krishna, the beautiful narration is there. And when we are going to the 35 sloka, it is addressing that Arjuna, Mahabaho, and the Kaunteya also. You know, very, very psychologically, we have to see these slokas. There is a depth of meaning is there. So it is saying that Chanchalam Himana Krishna Pramadi Belavad Dridam Tasyaham Nigraha Manye Vayuriva Sudushkaram. It is saying that the nature of the mind is, it is very much turbulent. It is restless, strong, and unyielding. And here also it is always, it is restless, and the second character, it is saying that Balavat, it is very much strong, and the third one, it is Dridam. It is Dridam means it is very difficult to cut it. And Acharya Shankara is given another example for this Dridam, which is saying that, which is comparing to a what do you call this? Kimcha Dridam Tandu Nagavat Achedyam, which is like a Tandu Naga or the Naga Bhasha. In English, we can say that in the seafood category, there is a shark like octopus. It is very difficult to cut. So this is the nature of the mind, and it is like again saying that it is very difficult to control the wind. Wind means the air. How when we are doing the pranayama and all this kind type of practices, how difficult to control the air. So it is like that. And then Bhagavan is giving the remedy. He is giving the remedy. Krishna is saying that Sri Bhagavan Uvaja Asanshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Charam Abhyasena tu Gaundeya Vairagyana Cha Grihyade. Lord Krishna is saying that undoubtedly, O mighty armed, the mind is difficult to control and is restless, but by practice, O son of Kundi, and by dispassion, it is restrained. He is accepted that, yes, Arjuna, saying that Mahabaho, addressing that Mahabaho. Mahabaho address means he seen Arjuna in the form of when he was fighting, especially Madhusudana Saraswati is mentioned very clearly that, Arjuna had a fight with Lord Shiva. In that form, Bhagavan Krishna is seeing Arjuna in this occasion. So that is why he is addressing that Mahabahu. The second address is the O Kaundeya. Kaundeya means, Arjuna is also related to Krishna. He is the son of his auntie. So he is very nicely addressing that Kaundeya. In that word, Swamiji is saying that there are two things we can see that. One is his love to, affection to Arjuna, or addressing that, O Kaundeya. And the second thing is he is given the assurance. There is a remedy is there. So you have to, O son of Kundi, and by dispassion it is restrained there. But by practice, O son of Kundi, and by dispassion it is restrained there. The practice, the relentless effort you required. For a couple of weeks ago also, I was saying a nice story from the Mandukya Karya. There was a bad story was there which is coming from the Hizdopadesha. We have seen that the bird was laid their eggs in the shore of the sea, and high tide came and it is taken away. And when the bird is coming back, the bird saw that the tide is taken away this eggs, and then bird decided that okay, he will bring a tip of the kusha grass, and he started to empty the ocean by drop. And then Garuda, seeing this practice, and Garuda was going to help the bird, and the Varuna is appearing there, and Varuna themselves is removing the water and getting. It is a very nice example for the relentless effort, the continuous effort we need to have, and then the dispersion, the vairagyam. So these are the two qualities we need to develop. That is the first remedy Bhagavan is advising. And sadhana chatushtayam also, there are 4 steps are there. In the spiritual path, we have to practice this sadhana chatushtayam, which is the Atma and Alpa Vivegam, Iha Mutrartha Phala Viragam, Shama Damadi Shatka Sambati Mumukshatvam. These are the 4 steps in the sadhana chatushtayam. And when we are progressing the 3rd level, Shama Damadi Shatka Sambati, which is the controlling the Shaman, Dhamma, Uparadi, Tidiksha, Sraddha, and Samadhanam. So these are the Shatka Sambati, or in total, or in some, we can say that we have to have the Vairagya. So that practice in this verse, the second portion of the 35 verse, Abhyasena tu Kaundeya Vairagyanaha Grihade. In that word, it is Bhagavan is enveloping and giving the first remedy, the continuous effort and the vairagya you have to practice and inculcate in the spiritual path. So this is the first remedy. As Ajayji mentioned, that the doubt is raising and giving the remedy. We can see these 2 solutions Bhagavan is given, and there is no word to say the beauty of this Swamiji's explanation for this commentaries, especially in these 2 slokas. We can see that at least 5 times we need to read this one to digest the beauty of the language and the inner meaning of all these words. It is very beautifully it is explained. So these are the remedies, and these are the capsules we are getting from this slogas. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Suresh. I think it is very, these two shlokas are very important shlokas, and it requires a tremendous amount of reading and understanding. And this also is very practically useful, because this situation of mind not being under control is common to most of the sadhaks. So, Pradeep, would you like to share your views?
Hari Om. So much we need from Sanjay ji on this, because Swamiji is talking about the poem Eligi by Gray and all that. I looked into it, I didn't understand anything. so the beauty of the word Swamiji is comparing to the English poem, I mean, rarely seen in English poem, which is seen in Sanskrit. So the Pramadi, Balavat, Dridam, these three words are so beautifully explained in various angles. So what I can relate to is the quality of the mind is with a child, which is trying to, it is sitting in another house with his mother, and he's seeing a toy there, and he wants to take that toy, but he doesn't want to go and take it. So he pushes mother and tries to make tantrums there to get it, but she's not allowing. So it's sort of a lot of turbulence happening there. And as mother goes to the bathroom or something, he goes and picks it up because he can't resist. He goes and picks it up and he holds it tight. And then when the mother comes back, she tries to pick it up, pluck it out. It's not happening. It's not. It's sitting tight with it. And somehow she managed to remove it and keep it there. And let's go. The child, you're taking the child away. And then again, as soon as she leaves the child's hand, it comes back, runs back again, and then picks up the toy again. So, and this process continues. So something like that. I mean, the mind is so strong, that pramati, so it agitates, and then it go and picks up the object of interest, and then very difficult to, get attached, very difficult to drop it. And even after dropping it, you again keep coming back, the tendency to come back to the same channel of desire. It continues with the mind. So it is so strong. So Swamiji uses various words there. It's get riveted, the waves rising pell-mell, so many things. So beautifully explained. And also the simile of the words Swamiji has used for the mind compared to the wind. The strength and vigor, the vivacity, the treachery, the penetrativeness, the all-pervasiveness of the mind cannot be better expressed than the simile, than that of a wind. So that, so beautiful words, vigor, the vivacity, that is lively and animated, like a woman. And then treachery, the deceptiveness, and the penetrativeness, all pervasiveness, so much. So you can make out all these things with respect to mind if you carefully analyze it. And another thing which I want Sanjay ji's explanation is that Swamiji says here about Krishna, the Kris means it is to scrape, whereas Shankaracharya Swami says it is to cut through, like that, what word Swamiji is using, Tantu Nagavat, that some special type of sharp, it's difficult to cut to pieces. And so, and Gurudev says what here is connecting with respect to the highest thing, that is the dream. The way the dream is cut off from when you are woken up. So in the same fashion, that the ego is cut off. That example is given to compare to this So, I mean, I'm not able to fully get that clarity on that. So that is one thing. Then going to the next, Asamshem Mahabahu Mano Nigraham Chalam Abhyasena Kaunteya Vairagyena Grihyate. So that is also a very always we have that doubt that whether you should wait for the Vairagya to come, because the howsoever you try doesn't happen. I mean, so you sometimes you feel like giving it up, let it happen, but God will make you do that. I mean, so and all these things. So but Swamiji says very clearly, it is so ridiculous, like waiting for the harvest of the crops which we never sow. So unless you put in effort, where the question, and so beautifully the analysis, the financial analysis, Swamiji does it here for this filling the coffers of joy and happiness. So beautiful, the deficit balance and all these things, what you have put in life and what you are getting in return, and check the deficit balance. And whenever there is a deficit, try to put in or reorganize so that you can get more profitable. Complete management and also as you start studying, see the beauty of Swamiji's explanation. Peep into the wonders of moral life, the wisdom of ethical values, the joys of self-control, the thrills of growth, and the consequent suffocation of the egocentric little life. So he's telling to suffocate the ego, to kill this ego, you have to suffocate it with all that type of, the wonders of moral life, the wisdom of ethical values, the joys of self-control, the thrills of growth, and the consequent, and then suffocate the ego. And yeah, and let of your own accord, never renounce anything. Let your attachment with things drop off or of its own accord. So beautiful explanation, Hari. Manish ji, Hari.
Hari Om. Meenakshi ji.
Hari Om, Manish ji. So I really like these shlokas, very, very practical, as everybody said. And I will touch base on some points which I found very useful. And I'll straight away jump to the verse 35 because everybody has spoken about verse 33. So we all know that mind is very strong, it's unyielding, it's powerful, and it's compared to the wind. We understand that. Now the question is, how do we solve that? This topic is very dear to me because one reason which we all should probably ask ourselves is, why are we even in this class? Why do we attend this class every day? I mean, every week. As long as that why is clear, we will be able to get clear answers as to why we are doing what we are doing. For example, for me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I do not relate myself to any self-realization to Brahman. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm far, far away from it. Okay, so that is not what I want. What I would really like is the control of mind, making my mind quieter. And that is something which is very, and I keep reading books more and more on that. So this makes more sense to me, because that is the base of me coming to the class every day or reading reading all the books. So that's one thing. And it really helps me. It really helps me as long as the why portion is very clear. So the explanation which Gurudev has given is brilliant, but it's a lot of information. And hence I tried to find information from other sources. So I chanced upon Swami Sarvapriyananda's lecture, and it's brilliant. He has explained the same thing at length. So what he has mentioned is, I will just quote what he has sent. He said that, yes, mind is restless. It doesn't settle down. But always remember who is the teacher. Who is the teacher in this whole Bhagavad Gita? It's not someone, he is not a saint, he's not a friend, he's not just somebody who is giving a lecture. He is actually an avatar. So give importance to what is being mentioned here. And so the way Krishna addresses Arjun is by using the word Mahabaho. So he starts with calling him Mahabaho. Mahabaho is a mighty person. So as Gurudev has said, a great warrior should not be happy plucking flowers from the garden, but he should be able to conquer the enemy. So it's a taunt on Arjun that you are such a great warrior, and how can you be afraid of your own mind? So we need to develop that heroic attitude within ourselves, that we will be able to conquer. So it's a taunt not on Arjun, on all of us, that we should be able to maintain, have that heroic, develop that heroic attitude within us, and that should set us on fire. So then he has mentioned that there are three kinds of people. One is the lowest, the middling, and the best. So the lowest kind of people are the people who will not undertake any challenges, as they will oversee it as too much of problems. The middling, which is a majority, vast majority of people like us, who will take up the challenge, but the minute any inevitable issues come in, we give up on it. And the best are the ones who will carry it to the end. They will continue the task. First, we ask the question, is the task that we have taken is worth doing? And if it's worth doing, then we do it well. For example, we gather for the class every Saturday. A lot of us back out because the why part is not clear with us. Why are we attending? We do not back out of our families. We do not back out of our responsibility with the kids, because we know, we are very clear why we are doing it. So this is just an example that I'm mentioning. So this is how Krishna starts, by calling him Mahabaho, that if you can conquer yourself, you conquer everything, and you should not be afraid of your mind. You are a great warrior and you must persist. If you take up something, do not give it up. Then he has given a very nice story about one, just let me know if I'm taking some time. So he has mentioned a story about this sadhak who's learning with a guru, and after completing some lessons, he says that I want to go to the Himalayas and I want to go and meditate there. So the guru tells him that you wait for some time, finish the lectures, and then you go. But he is turbulent. I want to go. And he goes. After 2 weeks, he comes back again saying that, no, there was a landslide and I didn't feel like, I don't think there's any point of going there. So I came back. So then the guru gets angry and tells him that, so what happened if there's a landslide? You should have walked barefoot on the rubble and on the sand and walked at a stretch. And your attitude should be, even if I persist in this in this cold weather, I will continue. So like Gurudev has this calendar, the Chinmaya Mission has a calendar in which Gurudev has mentioned, stop not until the goal is reached. So you continue, persist, that developing this quality within us, that we do not stop. We give up very easily. So do not stop until we get the final goal. So that I found extremely useful. Third practical benefit which I found from the lecture was, as everybody said, that we do not wait for the right moment to come. Abhyasa is very important. So if we wait for the right moment to come, then we are flowing with nature. Concentration does not come naturally. Nothing comes naturally. The direction of the flow of nature is always in the downward flow. Every spirituality is in the upward struggle. So nature by general, Prakriti is tamasic. If we flow by nature, if we feel that the right time will come, then nature will pull us down. It will bring us down to gross materialism. So this is something, so not wait for the right moment to come, but start the abhyasa. There's no strength like yoga. So keep on practicing. Enormous amount of practice has to be done in opposite direction. So if we don't feel like getting up in the morning, we make sure we do get up. And we do it because of the years and years of following the same pattern of life. A lot of inertia has been developed within us. So we go in the opposite direction and try to fight with ourselves to basically go in the opposite direction. And then he has also mentioned about a story about a mahout and elephant. So one of the way to do abhyas is to train it. So he has given an example of Mahout and elephant. The Mahout is sitting on the elephant, and Mahout wants the elephant to go in every direction. But the elephant will not go. The elephant will want to eat a banana. It wants to jump around. It wants to go water. And even how much ever Mahout wants to try to control the elephant is far more stronger. And that's the similar story of us. We want to get up in the morning. He has mentioned that there are so many books available on self-help. We bring all those books, but we don't practice them because intellectually we are very fired up by hearing all those books. But the same thing, when we are getting up in the morning, the body doesn't want to get up. The body will say that intellect, you have decided to get up. You are fired up. You get up. I will not get up. I'm very comfortable in this quilt. So what is the solution for this? Is we train ourselves slowly and steadily. We keep on training ourselves. Repetition is important because brain is plastic. That's about it. Hari Om.
Hari Om. I think now we move to Sanjay ji's. Hari Om. Sanjay ji, please.
Hari Om. As stated earlier, Atma Sanyamana Yoga cannot be understood if, like the chapter 2, cannot be understood if Sankhya Tattva Jnana is not understood. This particular Adhyaya cannot be understood if Patanjali Yoga Shastra is not correctly assimilated. In fact, the Sadhana Padam, the Samadhi Padam, the first pada of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in its gist form, has come in these two shlokas. The depth of these shlokas is so high that normally the Bhashyam, which is to the point, it is not as terse as Sutra, but it is to the point, and it never expands unnecessarily yet. As Sureshji mentioned, Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj is spending pages after pages in this particular adhyaya for each shloka, always referring back to two granthas, Yoga Vasishtha and Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There is a doubt that is raised by Arjuna. We also raise this doubt: how to get God? How do you become godlike? How do you realize the self? How do you get moksha? But nobody calls us Mahabhaho. At the max, we are Alpabahu. Why Krishna is prompted to call Arjuna as a Mahabhaho, as explained in the light of Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj's explanation? Because the question is $1 million question. And it is not a general statement like we all make, the mind is very difficult to control. No. It is not from the superficial aspect. It is from the deep depths of contemplative thinking that the question has come. Ask any person in this world and he will say, yeah, mind is very chanchal, the mind is not easy to control. What is great about it? Chanchalam. Even Arjuna is also saying Chanchalam, and every ordinary person. Then why ordinary person is not Mahabhaho? Why Arjuna is Mahabhaho? Because the depth to which Arjuna has studied the operations of the mind. Manahi evam manushyanam karanam bandham okshayoho. So, as we have the story of a demon or a Rakshasa having his life in a parrot or something, our entire problem, the very reason why we study Bhagavad Gita, why we try so much, why we are suffering, why, all whys are answered by only one thing: because you have mind, which produces vrittis. That's all. If you do not have an apparatus which produces vritti or thought, there is no need of any scripture anywhere. Not even Vedas are required. Meaning, if it is the mind, if it is the mind that is the source, precursor of all the evils or the ills that we are suffering from, then we must, or rather we ought to study the operations of the mind, nature of the mind, so that we can work on the mind. In the light of the guidance provided by Yogeshwara, Sri Krishna, Arjuna contemplated on the operations of mind, and he used erstwhile Rishi Munis such as Panchashikhacharya or Patanjali Maharaj and analyzed the work of the mind. And then he realized that the mind is working through 5 vrittis. It can be classified into 5. If these 5 are absent, mind is not there. That means mind is something which is intangible, which can only be ascertained through its working or effects. So mind is karyanumeyi. Unless the karya is there, it cannot be ascertained. Karya is absent, cause is also absent. Vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishta. There are 5 types of modifications that the mind gets, and these 5 can be either for fomenting trouble or for relieving the trouble. That which can catch you unaware in the samsara or can help you get out of the samsara. Meaning, it is the mind that has brought us to the problem that we are facing. It is the mind that will take us out of this particular problem. Very beautifully, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, you have a thorn in your soul, in your foot. To remove the thorn, you will have to use a thorn and then throw both the thorns. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritihi. These are the 5 vrittis. In very simplistic words, in a very crude language, we can say we are what mind is. 1. What mind is only in 5 states. And what are the 5 states? Either I am experiencing something through the pramana. Right now, we are experiencing the words called Agama or Shabda Pramana. Gurudev has written something, we are thinking about it. Our mind has developed thought of Bhagavad Gita with the help of words spoken by Gurudeva. This is called Agama Pramana. I can see myself right there in the screen of mobile that there are people present. Pratyaksha Pramana. And since 1920 people are attending the satsang, I am guessing that they are present right there near their mobile. Although I am not seeing them, this is called Anumana Pramana. So either my mind is trying to have these 3 pramana and jnana or cognition from them, 1, viparyaya, or I can have a wrong cognition. I think Manishji has left, but actually he is there. This is a wrong knowledge. Pramana viparyaya. Vikalpa. Vikalpa is simply because you can talk through words doesn't mean it should mean an object. For example, There was a Vandhyaputra who called a wedding feast. Now this word is correct. Vandhyaputra called a feast. How can Vandhyaputra be there? Because Vandhya means putraless. But Vandhyaputra called a feast. Words can be there, but factuality cannot be there. Vikalpa, pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa. The commonest vikalpa we have is Brahma is Satchit Ananda, is also a vikalpa. Why? If Brahma is characterless, how it can be Satchit Ananda? Just because words can speak it doesn't mean it exists. It is a vikalpa, but it is required for our understanding. So pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa. Fourth, nidra, we are sleeping. And fifth is smruti, we are remembering. So about the indriya gochara srushti, when we use the indriyas, we are using one of the pramana viparyaya vikalpa to get hold of the things around. When we are not doing anything like this, then we are always brooding in our mind about the memories that we have, smruti. And when we are not doing anything of this, we are sleeping. That's all that the mind does. But it is continuously busy in doing one or the other vritti on a continuing basis. In fact, there is not a single microscopic moment when the mind is not working. Through these 5 channels it works, but it never rests. What about the sleep? Even in the sleep, it is not resting. It is under the influence of tamoguna. As long as mind is under the influence of guna, it is continuously working. Oh, but I was actually in the contemplation of Narayana and actually forgot everything around this world, and I was only remembering Narayana. Sir, this is also the mind working. Sampradnyat samadhi is also mind working. So even in samadhi, it doesn't stop working. In the ordinary course of action, not to talk about it, it continuously works. This, after contemplation, Arjuna understood and then put the question. So Krishna was delighted and he said, oh, you are Mahabaho. You are spiritually also mighty armed because your mind can contemplate, and then only come with this $1 million question. Chanchalam hi manaha. Now he's trying to tell the problems because he has understood the mind is the thing to be controlled, restrained. And he immediately realized what are the issues. He has even thought of issues of mind, even causing troubles into the higher stages of Sampradnyat Samadhi. And that is why that helplessness that it came, almost bordering on the impossibility of controlling the mind. So he is asking Krishna, Chanchalam hi manaha, unsteady, because it is never at one place. And the whole purpose of requirement of meditation or dhanam is ekagrata. Ekam agre asit. And mind is never ekam agre asit, from one to other to other to other. Ephemerality. Not only that, it is pramadhi. When so for example, while driving to the office, we see 100 things on the road. So the mind is shifting from that car to that car to that car. Doesn't matter, but it doesn't disturb us very deeply because we say it is a passing by thing. There is a flower bed on the road. There is somebody going from the other side. Suddenly a huge vehicle like bus comes from the side. We do note it. Mind goes here and there, but it doesn't cause disturbance. But the places where it has developed the relationship, such as even a thought about a beloved or an enemy, it creates a turbulence in mind in the form of storm of thoughts, as well as in the body. So it is pramathi. It is chanchalam. It is a pramathi because it is the source of disturbance of body and mind, as Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj calls it. Not only that, Krishna, I have also found that it is balavat. Balavat is resistant. In order to compare this resistant or balavatness, Shankaracharya has used that particular analogy of Tantunag. Tantunagavat balavat. Tantunaga. Now, Tantu and Nag does not really fit into the description of a shark, although they are calling it as a shark. Tantu, that means tentacles. Nagam means a snake-like. Tentacular and snake-like is perhaps a larger creature like octopus whose grip. The whole purpose of this particular Tantunag is called to give the example of the grip that it has, balavat. And once you are under that grip, you cannot get released unless either you die or you make that particular animal die by cutting the tentacle. That is the only way for you can escape. There is no other way to escape. No way the animal will release you. No way the mind will release you unless asanga shastrena drudhena chitva, cut asunder, balavat. Hold on, Krishna, I am still telling you one more quality of the mind. It is drudham also. It is tough. But balavat is already said. Why drudham? Difference between balavat and drudham. Balavat, difficult to escape. Drudham, tough because even if I cut it and escape it, there will be another Tantunag coming. Why? Because of multiplicity of vasanas which have developed because of millions of births and their samskaras. So if our biography is kept in front of us as millions and millions of life, multiplied by trillions and trillions of vasana, how many births will be required even to exhaust those vasanas? And while exhausting, again I'll be creating the vasanas. Where is this vicious cycle going to end? I am born because of my vasana. While born, I am doing some karma. Because of my vasana purti, I am doing the karma. But because of karma phala apeksha, again I am creating the vasana. Again the vasana is creating the janma. Again janma, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Where is the end of this vicious cycle? That is what has made Arjuna a completely hopeless person. He is not hopeless because he is weak. He is hopeless because he knows the mightiness of the enemy. The stature of the enemy is so bad. He is a chanchala, pramathi, balavat, drudham. With this much contemplation and thinking, he is telling Krishna, hey Krishna, my, according to me, I don't know your opinion, but according to me, aham manye tasya, all these, nigraham vayuriva sudushkuram. It's not only dushkara, it is sudushkara, extremely difficult. Vayur eva. Can you control the vayu? That, in fact, which can be controlled cannot be called vayu. Vayu means there is no control whatsoever. Because flowing is his character. What is vayu otherwise? A steady vayu. There is no steady vayu. Vahati. Vahati iti vayu. Flowing is the nature inherent in the vayu. heat is the nature of fire, and Chanchala Pramati Balavad Drudam is the nature of mind, and still you want it to be controlled. Nigraham Sudushkaram. After this particular way that it was put, and that is why Gurudev here, first of all, Gurudev has enjoyed so many things in those two slokas. Can't say exactly what place, what occasion, where these two commentaries were written, where, which city he was, which station, what time of the day, we don't know anything. But one thing we can know, that the mind of Gurudeva at this commentary of these two slokas was at a highly creative level. And it's creative, of course, all through the Gita he's creative, but here he was enthused with the literary prowess. Not only he was enthused with the literary prowess, a person of his caliber could immediately draw upon what he had studied during his graduation or otherwise, and bring, because during graduation also in the English literature, certain things have appealed him. Like the way Wordsworth appealed Swami Vivekananda. Gurudev suddenly remembered this Thomas Gray's elegy, and in this elegy, Thomas Gray's elegy is supposed to be of the philosophical type. It is one of the finest expression. The poem is written sometime in 1770s. The finest expression about what? The poet Thomas Gray is standing in the graveyard of a small village near Birmingham. We're talking of 18th century. And those days, every village by rule was under curfew. Curfew word came from there. Curfew means in the evening the church bells used to toll, and that was an indication that all the citizens are supposed to go to their hamlets, their houses, and sleep. So with a little bit of hurry, all the shepherds used to take their cattle as fast as possible towards the home. Now the poet is in the graveyard, looking at those who are already buried here, and those who are alive are going towards the village. And he's overcome with the emotion that what is there on those who are leaving and going to the home, and those who have gone beneath the ground and are also gone home. Death seems to be the inevitable end of everyone. There is a slight shade of melancholy at the same time of a spirit of philosophical inquiry in the poem. That is why the curfew tolls the knell of a parting day. The ringing church bells are telling that the day has ended. Now fades save drowsy tinkling lull the distant folds. The small bells that are there in the neck of the sheep, they are also making the noise, as if it's a noise reminding you that one day you are supposed to go. This was in the mind of Gurudeva while commenting on this. That is why one after the other statements with extremely high literary quality, Gurudev is forthcoming with throwing those statements one after the other. One can be sure that when this commentary was written, it must have come out without any interruption, like a flow of a cascade. It's a different pleasure to read even the commentary from the literary angle, although it is a philosophical commentary. And that is why Gurudeva, when he used the word Krishna, he used Krusha as a dhatu. Now, the dhatu in the word Krishna can be used in different ways. That is the beauty of Sanskrit. Krusha is to remove, according to Madhusudan Saraswati, to scrape, according to Gurudeva. But Gurudeva has used scraping for a specific reason. When you scrape the pot which is soiled, you don't destroy the pot. The pot is not destroyed. the guilt in the pot, the dirt in the pot is scraped off. In the similar manner, on realization of the truth, the threats of delusory mind and consequent dreamy vasanas are scraped away from the cognition. The cognition doesn't end. The wrong cognition that led to formation of vasanas is taken away. Shankaracharya has used, Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj has used also another word, karshati. Karshati is to attract. Krushati, scrape away. Karshati, attract. Akarshana. Karshana is to traction, to attract. So Krishna, because it doesn't attract, akarshati, the negative tendencies. Each of the commentator has used his own prowess of Sanskrit to explain that. After listening to such a beautiful question, Krishna has come out with the answer, and Gurudeva has actually put the precious stones around the commentary in this. First thing he says, I agree with you. Gurudeva says, stoop to conquer secret of success. I agree with you. In fact, eventually he's going to disagree. So first word of the second shloka is asamshaya. Mahabhavo, I agree with you. Asamshaya, without doubt what you say is right. And look at the last word, gruhyate, can be restrained. In the first word he says, cannot be, asamshaya. And in the last word he says, it can be. And how? That is the middle part. Asamshaya, Mahabaho, Manaha, Durnigraham, Chalam, agreed, Asamshaya. But to Abhyasena Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagudeva, He Kaunteya, Abhyasa and Vairagya. These two things can lead to, the detailing goes to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where the Bhashyam in the first pada says, Chitta Nama Ubhayato Vahini. Antakaran is a flow of two types. Vahati Kalyanaya, Vahati Papaya cha. Vritti can be for Kalyana as well as for the pop. The thoughts can be for welfare or for destruction. Tat Vairagyena Vishayastrotaha Khilikriyate. What does Vairagya do? Vishayastrota. Antakaran or the mind going towards the object, it's stopped by Vairagya. And then what does Abhyas do? Viveka Darshana Abhyasena Viveka Strota Udghatyate. It opens up the study of Viveka. So one arm stops minds going out, the other arm pushes the mind towards the Viveka through Samadhi or Dhyanam. And such two arms were there with Arjuna. So Mahabhaho, one more Mahabhaho. So while developing the Vairagyam, initially you have to try. As Meenakshi ji said, get up at 3 o'clock, even if your mind doesn't agree with you. That is called Yatamana Vairagya. Engaged in effort, Yatamana Vairagya. After we conquer that, then what happens? Out of the 10 things that we are supposed to have Vairagya, 2 things are achieved. So you make a list. Oh, this, I get up in the morning. 1 thing is done. Second thing is, but about the food, I am still. So when something is remaining, something is there. Vyatireka Vairagya. After years or maybe births of practicing this Vairagya, then you develop complete neutrality about whatever is seen by the Indriyas. The perfume doesn't matter, the car doesn't matter, the wife doesn't matter, the lady doesn't matter. External things are gone, but inside the mind, still the problem is existing. It is, that means the whole sensory thing is now concentrated only in one organ. Which organ? Mind. Mana shashtani indriyani prakrutisthani karshate. So that is called as ekendriya vairagya. Even when from the mind also the thing goes, then it is called Vashikara Vairagya. Arjuna, these 4 Vairagyas step by step you develop, and by abhyas only. Satu dirgha kalena nirantara satkara sevito drudabhumi iti abhyasaha. Satu dirgha kalena, continuous endeavoring, nirantara, without any interruption. In the morning, I am in the spiritual mood. In the afternoon, in the vyavaharika mood. Again in the morning, baddha mukta. That doesn't work. Nirantara. Satkara sevito. What is Satkara sevito? Tapasa shraddhaya brahmacharyena vidyaya saha drudha bhumi. That is called abhyasa. So Arjuna, asamshaya, what you say is right, but there is a solution. How easy is the solution? Depends on how easy the problem is. But the problem is too difficult, already declared by Arjuna. Naturally, the solution has to be, is also not going to be so easy, but it is not impossible. We have created our own infrastructure through multiple births, millions of births, and their samskara and vasanas, and you want them to be completely annihilated in one day. The city that you created has now expanded into miles and miles. So demolishing each building one by one will take time. But why bother about time? Shubhasya shigram. We can start right away. Start where? No confusion. Right away tomorrow morning, I'll be sitting in the meditation, and another half an hour, and maybe by 35th minute, I will be getting directly realization. Sorry, sir, it doesn't happen. Start from immediate nagging things. And there are so many. The backlog is so much. Which subject to study first, sir? All subjects are pending. Take anyone. Take the one which you can handle, which is basically nothing else but the yama niyama abhyasa. Yama niyama means discipline. Mind does not like discipline. One of the way of minding the mind is to discipline it. Every single discipline, mind gets conquered. The easy way of conquering mind is to work against him at present. What does the mind say? Do opposite. Pratipaksha bhavana, Patanjali Yoga Sutra. 2 hours satsang also is too difficult, it is very difficult. Make it 4 hours. The food, what happens? I cannot go without sweet. Start eating neem. Start eating bitter things. Tell the mind, eat what I'm giving. Then you will find even the salad is so tasty. Why? You're eating now neem. This is how mind works. So in these 2 shlokas alone, if studied carefully, the entire secret of why we are in bandha and how to become mukta, both are explained only in 2 shlokas. Entire sadhana path is brought into 2 shlokas by Bhagavad Gita. That is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. That is why it is our universal scripture. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Pradeep ji, please take the closing prayers.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामय सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Chinmaya pledge. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly, the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on the path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.